Okay, so that was weird, especially the ending. So this gave me serious Carrie vibes, especially at the end. So, it starts off with apparently because they had a summoning spell, they left the door open. So the Salem Seven entered the Witch's Road. And they were chasing them, and we see how they end up being able to fly. And we see again Alice is paired up with Billy, which, I mean, he was sweet with her, asking her about stuff in the first trial, and now they got paired up in this one. So, based on what happened at the end, Alice is not permanent. No. So they start flying on broomsticks, try to get away from the Salem Seven. And now we find out, because Rio is way too chill about this, that the Salem Seven are the children of the witches that Agatha killed in her original coven. And somehow they became some sort of a hive mind thing, and that's why they're basically animalistic, I guess. So they escape the Salem Seven, only to have the road not be thrilled that they're flying. And it turns out there's a blood moon. So they're flying towards the trial. The witch's road brings them back down. They run into the next trial, and Billy said he left the book on the broom. Which, I'm sorry, that's patently hilarious, because it's not a car. Where could you have... I mean, you're not going to be putting it on a broom. But anyway, so it turns out that this is Agatha's house. Now, but everybody's dressed as a sleepover, and so they figure out that this trial concerns Agatha. There's a blood moon. Rio's the one who's supplying most of this information. And so they have to go to the Ouija board, and the directions are amusing. You know, you have to say goodbye. You can't taunt the spirits, and everybody's looking at Agatha, including Billy. He's finally figured out that she's not someone he should be fanboying over. So, it's obvious that even though the others are acting like they're being pulled, it was Agatha who was controlling the Ouija board, and it said Mrs. Hart, which, considering her name is not that, obviously that's a fake. And Rio calls her out on it, that she's faking it. She even tries her impression. Now, I don't know if Catherine Hahn actually was doing an impression, including the voice of Deborah Jo Rupp, or if that was a voiceover from her. Either way, it was very good. And so, like I said, Rio calls her out on it. And so then they go back, and Agatha's less than thrilled as to what's going to happen, because, I mean, let's face it, everybody knows that she's killed a lot of people. So they do the Ouija board again, and first they get death. And I really thought that they would pan to Rio, because they're implying she's Mistress Death. And again, thank you, Funko Pops, for spoiling that. But they didn't, or at least Rio didn't react to the fact that it's supposed to be Death. But maybe she was controlling it at that point. Because if she's Mistress Death, I'm sure she can control a Ouija board better than Agatha. So, then it says, punish Agatha. Now, maybe it was because later on we saw the spirit of her mother. So it could have been truly her spirit. Or it could have been Rio, because let's face it, the first episode she was trying to kill Agatha. So it could have been a combination. Rio did say she hates ghosts, so I'm guessing she didn't plan this along with Eleanor. But Eleanor possesses Agatha. And then Eleanor basically says, you guys just continue walking the witch's road and leave Agatha to me. Which I'm uncertain as to... I assume that the trial was concluded, but I don't know if it was concluded successfully. Did the witch's road want Agatha to kill Alice? Or just simply for her to stave off her mother? I'm unclear as to what the proper response to this trial was supposed to be. Or just simply the fact that Billy figured out that she's not a good witch. I honestly have no idea. But Alice tries to save Agatha, and Agatha takes her power. Now, this could mean one of two things. Number one, it's going to turn out that Agatha's heart's desire is to undo all this crap that she's done. Now, I don't know how far back that would go, whether her mother would be alive, or whether it would be something that would give her back her son, plus Alice would be alive. I do not know, because she obviously felt guilty about this. Now, she was also looking at Rio, so it could be a combination of she can't control it and she knows she can, and Rio knew she can. Or it could be that she made a pact with Rio, so she was able to control it, and Billy called her on it. And that she killed Alice to give Rio the death that she wanted. But I don't think Alice is permadead. I really don't. And then we get to the Carrie of it all. So, Agatha leaves the house, and you can see that she's looking at Alice's power in her hand, and she's not happy about it. You can see she's not thrilled that she has it. But when Billy comes, because Agatha's ego is so huge that she just cannot show weakness, that Billy calls her out. All the witches of the coven call her out, but Billy especially. And then we get to the Carrie and the Wiccan of it all. So Agatha says, he's like, is this what it means to be a witch? And how he wants no part of it. And Agatha, just smiles and says, you remind me of your mother. Now, that could mean two things. Even though Rio told her that that's not Nicholas Scratch, even though he used that name to get her to stop, taking Alice's power. So either she still thinks that that's Nicholas Scratch, even though Rio told her it's not, or she put two and two together and figured out he is the son of the Scarlet Witch. Not sure yet. Either way, she seriously ticked him off. Now, whether it's because she claims that he's someone that he's not. Again, I don't know if she thinks he's Nicholas Scratch, but he obviously knows who he is. Because it's possible that he's like, oh crap, she figured out that who my mom is. That my mom is Scarlet Witch. And either way, he throws her into the side. First, Jen and I think it was Lilia grab onto her from both sides, and it looks like they're going to drag her. Now, what they were going to do, don't know, because Wiccan took over. And he threw her into off the side of the road, just like what happened with Mrs. Hart. She starts sinking. Only with Sharon Davis, it was accidental with her. She was thrown there by Billy. Now, this is where we get to the Carrie part, because if you've ever read the book, or in my case, seen the movie, by the way, if you ever get to watch the movie Carrie with Sissy Spacek, excellent movie. But he then uses his powers to throw all the witches into the side of the road, and they all sink. Which is why I don't think anybody is dead. Because, well, for one thing, I don't think the rest of the series is going to be just Billy walking the road by himself. Because unless his heart's desire is for his mom to come back to life, what is his heart's desire? Because he's letting his true power show. Which tells you, since he's not at the end of the road yet, and this wasn't his trial, that, at least I don't think it was. Maybe it was his trial. And his trial was to get his head out of the clouds about Agatha. And that everybody was wrong about who the trial was meant for. Maybe the trial was meant for Billy to see Agatha's true self. So either he always knew he had this power, or thanks to this trial and Billy realizing that Agatha is not a good person, that basically he passed the trial and he got his powers. So it could go either way. Now, I understand why he would use it to try to kill Agatha, which we know that she isn't dead, because duh. It's her show. She's not going to die. At least not until possibly the end of the show. But considering, again, they're introducing the Fantastic Four and her relationship with Franklin, I'm going to say she's not dead. Which means the other witches aren't dead. And I'm not completely sure that Alice is either. The question is, when are we going to see her again? People like I have also suggested, and other people have suggested, that Sharon Davis isn't truly dead and that there's going to be some sort of twist at the end of the road. I'm thinking the same thing with Alice. Alice is not dead. They're going to bring her back now. The question is how they do that. Because she has to learn what the fate of her mother. Because the way they made it sound during Alice's trial is that Lorna kept singing the song as a protection spell to keep Alice safe. So that means that she must still be alive. So I'm going to say she's somewhere on the road, possibly at the end of the road. And so, yeah, I don't think Alice is dead because we have to get the answer to that question. And it would seriously suck if they got that answer without her. So I don't think she's dead. Plus, Billy has similar powers to his mother. So he has reality warping powers. And so if anyone could bring her back to life, it could be Billy. Or, like I said, that could be her heart's desire to undo all the horrible things that she did. And so maybe her original coven will still be alive. Her son might still be alive. Alice will definitely still be alive. It just depends on how deep does this go. Of course, that would imply that Rio's life is going to suck. Because if she's Mistress Death, obviously she needs death. And Rio has shown complete lack of concern for anybody. She briefly showed concern when Agatha's mother was going to attack Agatha, because she wants to kill Agatha. She wants Agatha's power. She doesn't want her mother to have that satisfaction. Let's see. So it's going to be interesting what's going to happen next episode. Because we now have Wiccan, which I thought they were going to save for the end. That he was going to get his power around the same time Agatha got her power back. So now it's a question of... Now that I think about it, I don't think Rio was one of the people that he threw into the side of the road. I think it was just Lilia and Jen. So that just leaves Rio. So I wonder where Rio is. You know, did she see what happened and she managed to get out of the road? Because again, she's not exactly a witch. She's Mistress Death. Totally different. So, yeah. Obviously Rio isn't dead because, well, for one thing, she's Mistress Death, so that would be redundant. And, plus we didn't see Billy attack her. So, who knows where she ended up. And, so yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to explain what happened. Because we've seen bits and pieces of Agatha and Billy in what looked like a insane asylum. And one helping the other unlock something. So yeah, I'm really curious how they're going to explain that none of this is real. Now, his power is reality warping, just like his mother's. So it could be explained that way. That he warped reality to make it seem like they all died, but they didn't. Which would make the most sense, because, again, he's a reality warper, and unlike his mother, he's much more mentally stable. You wouldn't guess that from what he did, which is seemingly kill everybody, but I really don't think any of them are actually dead. Now, the question is, again, how are they going to explain Alice not being dead? Because I honestly do not think she is perma-dead. It's just a matter of how she comes back. Let me see if there's anything else I'm missing in this episode. Well, it was good to see the Salem 7 again. I was wondering if we were ever going to see them. One other thing I just remembered again. So, I saw in the red carpet premiere, they actually had an actor playing Billy's boyfriend. So obviously we've got to have at least one episode where they've left the road, where they've gone back to our dimension, and how their lives are like now. Because we've seen that the Salem 7 are chasing the Coven, specifically Agatha, but we still haven't seen Billy's boyfriend. So they wouldn't have cast an actor if he didn't have any screen time, if they just used his likeness for the phone. So obviously there's that question. So we know that Agatha isn't dead. We know none of those witches are dead. Alice is temporarily dead. I don't know about permadeath. So yeah, I'm very curious what's going to happen, because now the audience gets to see what most of us already knew, is that Teen is Billy. Now it's possible he did this to Jen and Lilia simply because of their, that they had this air about them of, oh, you're just a familiar, you're not a real witch or whatever. That, that they didn't take him that seriously. The only Coven member who took him seriously was Alice. It's up in the air if Rio took him seriously. It sounds to me by, her saying, that boy. I'm not entirely sure she would be taking him seriously. So if it was possible, he probably would have done the same thing to her. The only person who treated him like he was truly a part of the Coven was Alice. Agatha kind of, sort of liked him, but she also, based on what she said. Now, I don't know if Billy knows his mother's history with Agatha, or, it's possible. It's entirely possible, because she tried to kill both him and Tommy to lure out the Scarlet Witch. So it's entirely possible he knew all along. And that he was just, or, that maybe this trial brought out that memory. Maybe he didn't remember at first, because he was fanboying over her. So maybe that also brought back memories of who he actually is. Like I said, I'm unclear whether this trial was truly for Agatha or for Billy. Because in every trial, the witch that the trial is for becomes whole. And Agatha did not become whole. Yeah, she took Alice's power, but she did not appreciate that. The only person whose powers we're seeing manifest, truly, is Billy's. So I'm very much leaning towards this was Billy's trial, not Agatha's. And that they were just using this trial to show Billy that Agatha is not a good person. So even though the show is called Agatha All Along, this show is really about Billy. Let me see if there's anything else to cover. And I think with that, I'm truly and utterly done with this episode. So with that, I will see you guys in the next video.